John, what are you going to do today?
We're servicing the Subaru to change the rear rotor and pads.
Great.
It's on the brake system.
All right.
So the first step is you have to loosen up the bolts that hold the caliper onto the caliper frame.
All right.
So you loosen them up. They're usually pretty tight. There's two of them. You loosen them. And then I cheat a little. I got this nifty Milwaukee electric ratchet. Best thing you could ever own if you're going to do these kind of things.
All right.
There's no air hose.
Yeah.
Put it on there. Take the bolt out in 2 seconds.
Oh, beautiful.
Put your bolts in a bucket because you don't want to lose them.
All
right.
There's a. All right.
Then you take a C-clamp.
Yeah.
You put it around the caliper. And you just squeeze a little bit to release the pressure on the rotor. Now you got to have one of these fancy hanging brackets to hang the caliper up so it's out of your way. So you can hook this around the spring and hook it into the caliper and let it hang there so it's out of your way.
All right.
Now you need a bigger wrench. The front ones have a different size socket, but the back ones use the same size. These bolts are usually pretty tight. These hold the caliper frame onto the rear wheel frame. So you either need possibly a wrench with a pipe on it or a big breaker bar like this to break them loose, because they're really usually tight. The front ones are a lot bigger bolt and they're really tight. We'll try going it from there. Once you crack them loose, sometimes this little electric ratchet will take them out.
Do you have to so many pounds pressure when you put them back?
You're supposed to torque them.
Torque them. Why do they have them so tight?
I don't know what the torque is.
Why do they have them so tight, John?
They always tighten them really tight. That holds this frame onto the car that holds the caliper and the brake pads.
Yeah.
I really don't know why, but they tighten them right up really tight. I'm guessing they are up there in the 40, 50 foot-pounds of pressure. Or something in that range. Now once you release those bolts, the pad caliper frame comes off.
All right.
And that's what holds the brake pads. Now on this wheel, there's still a little tiny bit of material on the inside one. Mm-hmm. There's just a little bit more on the outside one. So then you check these bolts to see if they're loose, these pins. Because that's what this floats on when the brakes go on to make the pads wear evenly. Mm-hmm. So if they're wearing uneven like that, sometimes you'll have a stuck pin, but these are not stuck. But the inside on the piston side is wearing a little more than the other side. So now we got to go clean this up.
Is that unusual?
I've seen them all which ways. It might be. Maybe when you first put the brake on, this pushes against the rotor, then this one has to follow over. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this gets that little bit more wear. All right, we got to go up to the vise. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull these pins out. Put a little bit, I got to go get the grease.
All right.
This is the time-consuming part of the job, somewhat times. Mm-hmm. Garages, I've seen them not do any of this. Mm-hmm. Pull it apart, put the new pads in, put it back in the car. They don't clean any rust off, nothing. They don't grease nothing. My car came like that. All new brakes in it, they told me. Well, I said, I got to check it out. Sure enough, they did nothing. They didn't grease anything. Everything was all rust. Kind of frustrating, you know.
It is. Yeah.
But they don't want to spend any time.
Why do you think I bring my car here?
See, now there's really not too much grease left on that pin. A little bit on the end, but
Yeah.
it's not doing you too much good on there. But you can't put much on these because they'll act like a piston, and you can't get them to push all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you want them to move nice and free like that.
Oh boy.
Because if they don't, then the pads wear unevenly. Then you take these out, and I always try to pay attention to how they are. This clip is towards the front here on this one. I'll put that in front. And this is the back one. Now I've seen these build up with rust and under these clips that you can't even hardly got to pound these out to get them out. And that'll cause it to wear uneven also. All right. Then you think there's these clips that things sit on. You got to pop these out. And I take a square file, and you can see there's a buildup of rust and stuff under that clip.
Yeah.
So I file that out. File up on top here, clean it up. There. There's a little bevel there I usually try to hit. All right. Now, I put grease on these. This car is really in good shape. Usually this is all really rusty and bad. This is not bad at all on this car.
All right.
Apparently they did a pretty good job. The new clips come with the new brakes. So you used to have to clean them up and put them back in, but now they started sending new clips with all the new brakes, so it works out pretty nice. Sometimes it's kind of stuck. You don't have to go too crazy, but just to get some of the corrosion and stuff, get the rust off, so you're kind of back to the metal. If you don't do this, sometimes you have a hard time getting the new pads in, because they're made to an exact certain width. Then I put grease on them just to keep the moisture out of there for a few years, hopefully, and make it last longer. Then a lot of times they give you special grease where the pad wears, so I put that on them.
Did that come with the?
This comes with the brake pads and with
Oh boy.
the kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the new shoes. Just kind of spread it around in there. The brake pads will do the rest of the work for you. Okay. Now we can turn it back over. Now we got to put this grease on this one. Scoop it on in here. You got it just about figured out to give you just enough grease to do
I can see
the
that.
two wheels.
Yeah.
There. Now, the pads have different metal backing plates. Where's that other one? Are they stuck together? The side had clipped. So we want that one. And that one had the small black pad. believe that goes on like that. And then it had a smaller chrome plate on it. That went on like that. My gloves are all falling apart. That one goes in here like that. You have to kind of push the clip back, set it in there. And then we got this one. And this one has the bigger plate. So you don't have two of those. You have one small one and one bigger one. I'm myself confused.
That's allowed.
Once in a while, right?
Yeah.
And then this one goes in against that clip, against this clip. And set that in there like that. Yeah. All right. That gets that ready to go. See if I can get your gloves on. Sometimes when you have the gloves on, your hands sweat.
Yeah.
You don't want to go on.
Some have powder, powder in the gloves.
Yeah, they don't want to waste the money. These are powder free. All right. So I used to never wear gloves, but it sure does help keep your fingernails clean and keep all them chemicals off you. All right, now we'll head back down to the car. Put that down and see if the rotor will come off. The other one came right off. That one looks like it's not going to be so cooperative. I got to get a mallet.
All right.
We'll try this if it's just stuck a little bit. If it's really stuck, they make these two tapped holes in them. And you can screw two bolts in there and it pushes the rotor off the hub.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's just stuck a little bit.
That's got to come. Yeah.
So we do that easier and quicker than bolts. I've seen them, some of them really stuck. There we go. That's where the emergency brakes works inside there. That's the drum for the emergency brake.
Oh boy.
See, this rotor's all right.
Mm-hmm.
The pad was not gone, so it's okay. Now, I give this a quick little cleanup, little wire brush action. I used to blow them with an air hose, but I get too much dust all over the place. So I just blow a little bit in my mouth. And I usually take a little WD-40 and spray it on the emergency brake mechanism inside here. Clips on the sides, the adjuster spring underneath. Get a little bit of lubrication down in there. Then we'll take get the new rotor out here. And we have to, we gotta get a screwdriver for the emergency brakes.
Yeah.
See the rubber plug?
Yeah.
So you gotta push that out. I just put a little WD-40 on it. You have to put that in that big countersunk hole here. All right. Now, I always paint this with never sees. Because sometimes these rotors are really stuck on there way worse than that was.
Mm-hmm.
They're all rusted and rotted. I paint the whole flange, try to keep the rust down. Only takes another half a minute.
Now you suggested that I get Subaru brakes.
Yeah.
And is there a reason for that?
Well, the article I read said that you pay more money, but they'll stand up better than just aftermarket replacements.
Mm-hmm.
I have no information to say that is totally correct or not, but
Yeah.
probably doesn't hurt to put the original equipment on the vehicle. Now this one you probably don't need it, but in most cars that hangs and flops all over. So I get a big nut and I use one of the lugs to hold that on there, to hold it kind of square, so I can put the caliper assembly on. Now, we get the bolts. These are a little corroded. These don't look bad at all. I usually take a wire wheel to them just to clean that corrosion off. Takes a half a minute. And almost makes like it's a new bolt with a wire wheel.
Yeah.
I put never sees on these. I'm a strong believer in never sees on all the hardware. It makes it much easier to take it out years down the road. This one all came apart very well. Apparently they anodized these bolts very well. Some aren't.
Oh, I see you put your gas tank on your...
I did.
Yeah.
Motorcycle's all set to go.
Yeah. It's very, very nice.
Talk to Brian. We gotta get an ad in the paper and see if we can send it down the road to some happy customer. Now you just hold this in here. Kind of hard to see it, but wrong bolt. There we go. I don't know the torque on these, so I just tighten them up. What seems good to me. And I don't hold the wrench all the way at the end because this big breaker bar could really over tighten things.
Can you over tighten them?
You could snap them right off. I'm gonna say that's probably somewhere up in that 30 to 40 foot-pound range. They're only like a 10 millimeter bolt, so you don't want to go too tight with them, but I want to be pretty tight, like that. All right. Pause it. I gotta get the grease. Forgot to bring it with me. All right, so now the next step is you gotta push the piston back into the caliper, because it's all the way out now because the pads were wore down so much. I guess this nifty little pusher unit. And this kind of gives you a test on the caliper too, because if it pushes really hard, you may have a bad caliper. If it pushes nice and easy, then chances are your caliper is okay. My hanger thing is right in my way. We gotta adjust. We gotta get this out here in the open. Get this in here. Get yourself a piece of metal to span across the piston. Then you just turn it, and if it's all right, it just goes right back in nice and easy like that. Really no pressure, just putting it back in.
Then it'll stay in once you get it.
Yeah, once you push it back in, it'll stay there. There we go. Okay. Now you want to squeeze the two brake pads against the rotor. And then you want to grease them. I'm going to put grease all over this plate for the caliper to ride on. And you want to grease the inside one for the piston to push on. Sometimes if you don't do this, the brakes will squeal. Seems to be the way to stop it from squealing. Then you bring the caliper over. And you got to push in on the bolts a little bit sometimes. And that'll set there in place. And then you put the bolt back in here that holds this onto the floating pin. I don't usually use that to really tighten. I just do that to running them in and out.
Yeah.
There we go. Got to take this thing out of here. That wouldn't be good for the wheel.
Finito?
That one's done. All we gotta do is put the wheel on, torque it up, and the brake job is finished.
Boy,
That's what's involved in changing the pads and the rotor.
yeah, that's pretty darn nice.
Very good. I gotta put on my jacket to pick up the tires.
All right.
Yeah, this car is really in good shape underneath for 54,000 and what, 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, the 2017.
Analyze stuff very well. And,
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Next car is going to be electric.
Yeah. Well, you know, I told Mary when we bought that last Hyundai after we had the problem with the other one, I said, you know, we maybe should have went with an electric car. Because at the time, an electric car was $29,000. but they had a $10,000 thing going.
Yeah.
So you get it for 19, a brand new electric car. I mean, we ended up finding one we did for 13,000, but now that a couple of years later, I'm looking at it and going, maybe we should have went electric. You're supposed to open the bleeders.
Yeah.
And when you push the piston back, you push that fluid in that caliper out into a bucket. And then you add new fluid to the master cylinder. But I've never had trouble pushing it back up, and everything's always worked
So
fine.
the brake fluid's okay?
And the brake fluid now is full. Yes.
Now you're going to torque the tires?
Now I'm going to torque the lugs.
What did we say the pressure was?
I don't know if I wrote yours down or not. I think it was around 100.
I had it on my...
Pretty sure it was like between 95 and 105, I think, or something
yeah,
like that.
I think so, yeah.
So it went like around 100. I don't know where I got this set. I think I did my car last. That's still there 100. I think your car was last. We checked the tires. Well, we checked the brakes.
That's right, yeah. Well,
This isn't really necessary if you don't mind your wheels falling off.
Finito, John. That's a beautiful job. Grazie tanto.